So the purpose for this call is like a kind of orientation for what is going on right now, what we learned, and what is going wrong, right? How do we fix it? And also what should we do for the next step? And also is a conclusion of what we have done in the past and what we plan for the next, like a real mainnet launch. So here's the agenda for today. So first I'm going to give like a status update of attempt 2, which is a rehearsal 2. And also Zhijie will join me to basically talking about some problems we learned, we found, and the mitigation we have identified to help, right? Then I'm going to give like a very mini workshop on rewards, claim, calculation, distribution, and token swap. And also another mini workshop, I call it a workshop, it's just like a few slides, is like a final logistics for mini launch. As we all know, like the mini launch could come next week, anytime during next week, but will probably be 15th of April, right? So let's plan what is going on for the next week. Then Don will drive this file drills instructions, file drill session, which hasn't been done in the previous one because we ran into some issues. But today seems to be a good day to have those things done. And also, just want to remind all the delegates who's actually doing BP in the Mainnet Rehearsal 2. So you must complete the upgrade, which Kevin will give me like more instruction about, because this will cause like how to say imaginary hard fork on epoch 151. So that's one scenario we want to test it out. So you have to upgrade your binary before that, right? So better today, better now. Then we are so honored to have like 4 guest sessions from our community, from 4 beloved delegates, right? One is InfinityStones, so they want to share their rewarding tools with all of us. I already saw the video they posted on the Twitter, which looks pretty cool. And also IoTeX Geeks, they have like a really cool Teleboot wallet plus like a Kubernetes implementation, which I think this also showed me it's a very cool technology. Cannot say no to that. And then Cobo wallet have this very cool feature, like people can voting and staking from their Cobo wallet. So it's like a complete integration with our member, the IoTeX.io, which made users voting and staking like extremely easy. And finally, like the IoTeX Explorer, in addition to like the very nice Explorer they have for IoTeX, they also build like a reward distribution too. So they want to share it with everybody else here. Okay, let me jump straight into the status update of attempt 2. So like one very important thing we have done during the attempt 2 is trying to audit all the reward distribution granting in the attempt 1, right? So we want to make sure like all the block reward, epoch reward, foundation bonus, which has been granted to each of the delegates count are exactly as we showed it to you. So that's why we did lots of work auditing around those. Like the work, like the result is very very encouraging. Like we have 100% correct and accurate on those numbers. So which is pretty cool, and which would also makes us able to distribute the block reward to you guys. So here is like a list of block reward we will be distributing today to all of you. As you see, like someone like for example, OneNode who joined us very early, so they actually produce more blocks, also because they have a very high productivity. And some join us later, so they have like a few blocks, or because they have like a lower productivity. Each block will be rewarded with 16 IoTeX token. So here is like a total reward you will be getting, right? So I already sent out like a notification in the channel, like please send me our ETH address if you do not want me to send the token to your admin address. So call the admin address, but you can figure out in this way. So that's why I have this page here. So when you go to this member.iotx.io, my votes, you will see like one address here. So this is the address you have in your MetaMask, which you use for like register your delegates. Also have this, for example, we use for like a name registration on the smart contract, the one you use for this set up this profile, right? So like the default we will have is to send in all the reward to this address. But if you have like other thoughts, please PM me, private messaging me, and tell me like the ETH address you want. So that's like the, I think, exciting part for everybody. So in addition to that, attempt 2 As expected, everything is going well, and we have 30. I think this is not totally up to date. We have 35 delegates actually joining us, and also doing the block production. So uh, and also we have like we launched like a DDoS campaign. So basically to encourage everyone to inject TPS, inject workload into the network and see how the network works. And we saw like the network actually went well, like 500 plus TPS haven't knocked down the network yet. But we do see like lots of delegates got slowed down during this test. I think JJ will have more to share about this. But generally speaking, like the chain sustained from this type of workload, and in the remaining like the next few days for the attempt two, right? So we plan another round of kind of heavy load test around this after we fixing the IOPS problem. So we are expecting to see all the delegates performing well during like the heavy load. Also during the attempt two, like the engineering team has made lots of incremental improvements among the RC8 we already have, which includes so at the rate limiting to the action pool. So action pool is basically where all the pending transaction gets parked on each of the delegates, right? So they haven't been like getting into the block, but they are parked on in your memory. So we added like a rate limiting to we add a rate limiting mechanism to this pool, so it won't blow up your memory. And then we have like a many more end-to-end tests for the EVM integration because this part will be used for like the DApp development. So that's why we want to have like more test coverage on that. And also IOCTO, like you guys can see every day, it keeps evolving. So lots of people are asking a question about the update of IOCTO. So I think it's preferred to update in this way. So you do IOCTL update -t unstable. Then you will be able to use like the latest IOCTL we actually build every night, right? Which has all the fixes, all the features, which is up to date. Also, we have like one more like a very, very cool work. It's called separation of blocks, headers, and foot. In the past, like everything is packed together and stored in the database, but we do separate them out in the on the storage side because like block, as you see, it's just like a very huge data block, but it won't be used too often, so it should be separated out and stored somewhere. Header is something like will be used pretty often for lightweight client, for other full node to join network, and so on. So it's itself is like a mini version of the blockchain, right? As many of you already know. So header is stored somewhere, and footer. Actually, I have a table here. I should call it footer. Footer is something like we restore all the signature, all the witness. So the idea is a little bit similar to like the segregation of witness. Probably some of you, you guys already know from the Bitcoin fork, which where like a Bitcoin Cash has been born. So the footer is something like is super important for the current time being, but it will be less and less important as time goes by. So it can be eventually thrown away, right? So that's why we have separated footer into another place to store. Then we have more efficient logging because lots of you are complaining about too much logs. I don't know what is going on. So we have more efficient logging. Then tooling for the real world distribution I will talk about. And also we do have like lots of contribution from the community. They have like a better tools than we do, right? Which is really appreciated. And optimize the boot node setup. This is a problem we saw in the last attempt. That's why it took so long for us to basically to set up, is because we have a set of nodes sitting in the AWS cloud, a set of nodes sitting in the GCP cloud, and they never talking with each other because some like a wrong setup for the boot node. We fixed that problem, so it shouldn't be a problem. We can start like pretty fast by having these two parts talking with each other. And also disable indexing and API by default for delegates. I think JJ will have more about this. It's more like a mitigation for the IOPS issues we have seen so far. JJ, are you here? You want to take on these two slides?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. This is Zhijie. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little more about the IOPS issues that we have faced during the last 1 week. So in the attempt 2, we actually, as Ron has mentioned before, we have witnessed more and heavier injection workloads into our mainnet rehearsal. It could be as high as 500 TPS injection. Oh, sorry, can go back to the yes. Yeah, and but on the other side, in terms of the production TPS, and was keep at 200 TPS. Why do you see this on the IoTeX scan? This is because we have the gas limit protection for the block producing, so that for every block to be produced, it can contain as many as 20 million gas, which is almost around the 2,000 transactions for 10 seconds. So that's why we see 200 TPS as an output for our Mainnet rehearsal. And this is a great thing because we can see on the one side we have this protection working and prevent the whole network to be overloaded. But we also see the bad things compared to the rehearsal attempt 1, because we do more injection, and we saw this phenomenon more frequently. Is a few nodes will fall behind if we start to inject heavy workloads. And we find the issue mostly happened on the with the delegates who start their node on the AWS EC2. We look into the deeper about what the problem is, and we find it's actually hitting the IOPS limit from the EBS, which stands for the Elastic Block Storage on AWS, and for this IOPS, the AWS has this such policy. You can get provision the 3 IOPS per gigabytes. I know many delegates here provision about 100 gigabytes or 200 gigabytes to use as a storage for the blockchain data. So you usually get around 300 and 600 IOPS provisioned by the EBS. So it looks so with the heavy workload, with the indexing work has been opened, this is not enough for handling the peak traffic, and then your write latency will gradually build up, and your write becomes slower. Then you will take much longer to process a block than a block should have been processed in 10 seconds. So you will first get delayed, and then you will not be able to catch up the tip of the blockchain. You are not able to produce the block anymore. Okay, so for the hardware suggestion, in particular for those delegates who are doing your delegate node on your EC2, we suggest you to have a 400 gigabytes SSD GP2 that will eventually turn out 1,200 IOPS writing throughput. So if you have to qualify this hardware requirement, then you should be good to continue to keep your index and API endpoint work. And next page, please. So, and we also have an alternative option because we, like mentioned, we see a lot of writes, a lot of the DB workloads and disk workloads coming from building the action, receipt, and account index to serve the APIs to the users. So if you really don't want to do this, want to save your budget, the way you can do is to turn off this index and the API service. You probably remember what command you use to run a delegate node. At the end of this command, there is one option called dash plugin equal to gateway. This is the option for you to enable this index and the APIs endpoint. So if you remove this, then the index and the API endpoint will just be disabled. So there will no more be workloads for writing the index. What we have analyzed before, it probably could save you more than 50% IO ops for your machine. But you also will expect that there is some drawback of doing this. Because you don't have index, you cannot serve the API endpoint anymore. So I know some delegates are actually using the IOCTL to point to their own nodes and API endpoint to check the health. For example, check the chain matter, including the hide information. But you are no longer able to do that anymore. So to check your node health in an alternative way, what you can do is check the metrics endpoint, which is 8080, or you can look into your server logs directly. That is an alternative way if you want to keep looking at your node healthy and still disable the index and the APIs. And on the other side, for us, we will still keep our nodes to continue serving the API endpoint, so that users can query against the API endpoint to get the status of the current blockchain overall, and also use these APIs to inject the actions. Yeah, that's it. So it's up to you to make a call whether you want to keep it still open, or you want to shut down the API service to save the budget. And if you have any further questions against these technical problems, please feel free to ping us in the Discord channel. Thank you. Let's give this back to Roland to continue to the next session.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. This is basically a performance improvement we can have, and also we can actually save you guys some budget on the hardware side as well. But like the downside, as JJ mentioned, is you will lose probably like more visibilities on your server, and also you won't be able to serve like API traffic from the apps. But I think like for the starting stage, that should be fine. In addition to that, I don't have slides, but I should. Is like the security auditing. Also, I want update on the security side as well. Like we are working with Slow Mist. Probably some of you should know. Like it's a very experienced security auditing company in the blockchain space. They did lots of things for EOS. They did lots of things for other public blockchains. So we are working with them very closely on the security auditing side. So far, so good. We haven't have any problems specified and also identified. But like the plan is, once they report something, once they found something, they will report to us privately, and we will fix those vulnerabilities per se, and then publish all the details, right? So that's the way we work with them. So for now, like we are working with them very closely, basically on a day-to-day basis, to try to identify secure problems. But yeah, thanks to the great quality of the work, so far we're good. Okay. Rewarding 1-1. So that's about claim, calculation, distribution, and token swap. So I guess that's the things like most of you will have the most interest now. So the rewarding scheme update. So first, I want to give you like a very, very important update on the rewarding scheme we have. Previously, like we set the epoch to be 1 day, but we got lots of feedbacks from you, also from the community, like one epoch 1 day is actually too long, right? Basically, there is not enough incentives to keep everybody like working together if the epoch is too long. And also this will like demonstrate some type of security, basically potential risks to the network. So that's why we shrink the epoch length to be 1 hour, exactly as we already have in the Mainnet Rehearsal 1 and 2, also like a testnet. So this has been tested, used, and also had a very good feedback from of you, and also very good feedback from the community. So that's why we decided for the Mainnet launch, we will also have the epoch to be 1 hour. Okay. Then this comes down to like how would you reward like the delegates. So as most of you already know, like the block reward will be granted immediately after production of a block, and the foundation bonus and epoch bonus will be granted by the end of every epoch, right? In the past, like basically it's granted every day, but for now it's granted every hour per se. So please know the change from original 1 day to 1 hour. And if you have anything to say, just let us know, right? So that's an update, very, very important update. Okay, then it comes down to the numbers. So the block reward stays the same, 16 IoTeX per mined block. So that's only for consensus delegates. And this foundation bonus is 80 IoTeX tokens, coins per epoch. That's for top 36 delegates. Yes.
Just to clarify, so that's for each delegate, we'll get 80 IoTeX per block. It's 1920 divided by 24.
Yeah, you read my mind, Larry. So I was thinking about the same thing actually. And also the epoch bonus reward. In the past, I think the numbers is like 35,000 or something, but we divided this number by 24. So that's why we have these three numbers: 12,500 IoTeX per epoch for phase 1, 15,000 IoTeX per epoch for phase 2, and also 18,750 IoTeX per epoch for phase 3. Know that all these numbers will be split by top 100 delegates based on the weighted votes. Okay, so that's a rewarding scheme. And then it comes down to the rewarding flows, right? So if we generalize the term of rewarding flows, we can have actually 3 of them. So that's why I have this diagram here. The first flow is from the protocol to the delegates, which is like an automatic process. Like I just mentioned, block reward will be given after the block production immediately, and also reward and epoch reward and foundation bonus will come out every hour. So there are 2 like a very useful command for doing for checking your reward, also claim your reward, right? So for checking your credits or reward, you can do this IOCTL node award. Please make sure this is a reward address, not operate address here. Operator address, you will see zero tokens, 0 balance, right? And for claiming the credits, you do this IOCTL action claim amount. So this is your gas limit, this is your gas price, and this is your reward address, who's going to sign this transaction. So one thing I want to emphasize here is we got, I think, 2 reports. One is from Jason and one is from Hashbai to talk about why I cannot do this IOCTL action claim. That's probably because you have 0 balance, 0 IoTeX within this account, who's going to sign the transaction, and so the transaction won't be able to go through, right? So I think the trick here is you can set the gas price to 0, at least for now. Then this transaction basically will cost you nothing. So this will be able to go through, and you will get your reward back. Actually, for the mainnet launch, we do plan for the first few days, or maybe a week, or maybe just a few days, to have this gas price set to 0. So everybody will have like a easy time to basically claim reward, do some trial transactions on network without paying any gas fee to the system. And afterwards, we will going to enable this configuration basically by recommend to every delegates and also say, please update your configuration file to set this number from 0 to, I don't know, 5, 10, 11, to basically to eliminate this zero gas price phase. Because this will actually have some concerns around phishing, spamming, using the blockchain system, which we don't want to see, right? So that's why we will have a zero gas price at the beginning, but we will phase it out as time goes by. So that's flow 1. So flow 2 is about delegates to voters. Basically, as a delegate, you got like your epoch bonus, but you want to share it with your voters. So what you should do? So previously, we have a tool called the processor and dumper, and we combine these two together to have another tool called the bookkeeper. So bookkeeper is your like a one-stop solution for doing this. So the idea is you will have this binary. We will make it like a more like a IOCTL kind of like a binary for you to easy to install and use. But for now, you can use this bookkeeper dash epoch. That means like the epoch I want to learn about. And here's the amount I want to distribute to my voters, and here is my BP name, right? To give you like more sense about this, so I do have a running of this prompt, this command here. So basically, idea is I want to distribute 101 IoTeX tokens according to the epoch 100 result to my voters, and I'm CPC. I'm delegate CPC, for example. It's just example. So the system will do all the calculation and give you the concrete numbers. So here is one voter, his IO address is this, his ETH address is this. So here is the votes you got from him, and here is like a rewarding IoTeX you should be sending to him, right? So this is calculate based on the percentage of the votes. And also this will generate like a bytecode, like this entire table is here, will be converted to a bytecode, which is used by the IOCTL command line 2 for actually make the transaction and sending to this, I don't know, probably 10, 20 folks here, right? So that's basically leads us to the second command here. So you will have this IOCTL action invoke. There is a one address, which is a pre-deployed multi-sig contract on our blockchain. And you want to see, you want to basically have your bytecode, which is generated by the bookkeeper 2 and put it here, right? Then you will be able to sign this transaction and actually sending out this 101 IoTeX token to this many people just in one transaction. So that's how this rewarding distribution tool works, like our version of rewarding distribution tool works. So there are some readmes, some codes, which is around here. So feel free to contribute, feel free to take a look and let us know if there are any thoughts you have. So that's flow 2, right? Basically from delegates to voters. Then flow 3 is more around not just voters, probably some delegates, right? After they getting this native token, they do have such need to swap it back to the ERC20 tokens for trading, for restaking, and also revoting. So that's why we have another service. It's called IoTeX Tube for doing this, right? But basically, you have a native IoTeX token. You use this service, then you get back ERC20 tokens. That's come down to the flow 3. So voters swap to ERC20 tokens. The code is here. It's open source. Feel free to contribute to improve. I can go through like the flows for this too. So it's pretty simple. Basically, our services is listening on one of the IoTeX core, one address on the IoTeX blockchain to see if there are any deposits, right? Then if so, like a user send 10 native IoTeX token to this address, the IoTeX Tube service will know, and it will be notified, and it will check if like everything's finalized. Like this address did receive 10 native IoTeX token. If so, it will automatically send like 10 ERC20 IoTeX token to the user's address. So like one magic thing here is the IO address, as you guys already see, can be actually converted to an ETH address. That means you use like one private key, you will have two addresses. One is your ETH address and one is your IO address, but they are like transformable to each other. So that's why we don't actually ask explicitly here what's the recipient's ETH address, right? But we can calculate based on your IoTeX address, IO address, and get your ETH address, right? So that's kind of how it works.
Do you want to answer the two questions on the chat of Zoom? One is how do we know how many to distribute per epoch?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. So that's basically it's related to like one feature we were talking about yesterday. Like for the bit bookkeeper, it will support another mode is you don't have to actually input the number, but the tool will grab this epoch bonus for a specific epoch for you, right? So you don't have to specify the number. Like we put the number here because some of the delegates do have such a need. I want to send out, I want to do my own calculation and send out this like a particular amount. But yes, I think you're right. We should have another like a more automatic mode to calculate that number for you.
Second one is there a max transactions number for the bytecode that we are going to inject?
For the bytecode side, I think we tested it can work up to 188 recipients, and then it will hit some problem. But I think that's probably fine in terms of in the next, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 months, and we will trying to figure out what is going on for this like this magic number, right? Why we cannot reach like a 500 recipient. So that's probably related to something related to the EVM.
There's one more question. Yeah, you saw it?
Yeah. To make this two-way conversion from native to ERC20 tokens. Yes, I think the flow I talk about is how you can convert from native IoTeX to ERC20 token, right? So I think this flow, this way of conversion have a higher needs because you guys are getting native tokens which is not tradable. Probably you want to make it tradable, so you have to switch it back to ERC20 token, and so this is supported by IoTeX 2 for now. We will be able to support another way around. Basically, you have ERC20 token, but you want to do something on the native blockchain, so you want to swap it back, right? That's basically a future, even for lots of token holders, even exchanges. So that will come later. That's another feature. Okay, I saw D-Rot have another question saying, if there are 24 epochs per day, we need a way to identify the epochs where we earned any reward. So basically a list of epochs where any type of reward was earned, mined, delegated. Yeah, I think that's a fair ask. So yeah, so again, if you do have like a feature request, good suggestions, please let us know, and perhaps just file a feature request on the GitHub repo. So we will be able to like take a look and also probably implement each of them. But also most importantly, like contributions are also welcome from you guys. I think we have 2 guest sessions talking about this reward distribution too in the next probably half an hour, 1 hour. Okay, I think that's all questions for this rewarding part. Then I will spend like a few minutes to talk about the logistics for the mainnet launch. Here are some like potential risks that could postpone this mainnet launch. First is we identified, together with Slowmist, we identified some serious security issues we need time to fix, right? Because we don't want launch something that is insecure for everyone, because I know like you guys have lots of assets on this network. So we want to make it 100% secure and also reliable. So that's one condition that could postpone the launch date. Cannot be foreseen, happens, right? So basically, some accident or whatever that could actually postpone the mainnet launch. Okay, so here is like the things I want to go through you guys with is what will happen during this process. So basically 3 days before, we will open this countdown on the website and send out the launch playbook to every one of you to say, so here is the steps you will have to follow to basically have your node up and running. So it won't be much different from you saw from the rehearsal, Mainnet Rehearsal, but we will have probably additional more steps to make sure it's more reliable, more secure. That's a playbook. Then we will check the name registration contract is correct for all delegates, meaning you must have like the operator address and also rewarding address. So some of you don't have this. So please do fill this operator address and reward address as soon as possible. And also we want to go through each profile view to make sure it's properly set up. All the messaging has been conveyed clearly to all the voters. And also you should best of yourself, right? Then we will do like the last round of campaign in the community for getting more votes. I think this will happen on Telegram. This will happen on WeChat group. We have few WeChat group, and also even some Kakao group for Korean communities, and also even some other places, Twitter. Yeah. 2 days before, so we will shut down the Mainnet Rehearsal 2 and distribute the block reward as soon as possible. And we will publish the final config and Genesis.yaml for everybody to review and also checksum for those things, right? To make sure it's a done deal, no one can change it. And also we will confirm the hash for the IoTeX core binary, the version, and also the Docker image to be used, basically to lock up everything. 12 hours before, we will start our robot delegates mining for epoch from 0 to 12, as we did for the rehearsal 1 and 2. So we will have like a few robots up there and running and actually get everything started. Then all the external delegates will be able to join. So on the 7 a.m. PDT time, so we will have top 18 delegates at least to join and follow the playbook to have the delegates node started, right? And also want to like re-emphasize for the phase 1, we will only open 12 delegates to external, to be non-robot nodes. But in the next few months, as long as we just have it everything like sort out, we will be like open more delegate positions, like the next 12 delegate positions, the next probably 2 or 3 months, even 1 or 2 if everything goes so well, to have more of you to be onboarded. So at least for this one, we'll have like top 18 delegates must join and follow the playbook to have the node started. And then we will do some monitoring, troubleshooting, Q&A in the Discord on the room, probably Telegram as well, because some of you prefer to use Telegram and to basically to work together like we have done and like we are actually doing right now. And then we will, as IoTeX team, we will perform this chain health test to verify that all the basic functionalities for the chain is exactly as expected, like deploying contracts, core contracts, transfer tokens, claim reward, so on and so forth, right? And then on the 11 a.m. PDT, that is 4 hours after, we will declare the activation of our IoTeX routine and deploy the first D app. We're actually building in-house, so we will deploy the first D app. So perhaps 7 days after the mainnet launch, we will be instructing all the delegates to set a minimum gas price to be a number that is larger than 0. Like I mentioned, right, we want bootstrap the network using 0 gas price. It's both convenient and also risky to everyone because we don't want lots of spamming in the network. So that's why we will have this 0 gas price, have a short window, probably a few days, I think at most 1 week, to have everybody get up to speed and also on the same page, can claim reward, can transfer token, can have something in your address. Then we will instruct all the delegates to set this number to be a non-zero number. Then the network will be safer. Okay, so I guess that's from my side. I do have some questions. Let them put them up. Yeah, I think IoTeX team asked a question about we will start robot delegates mining for epoch 0 to 2, so it means 12 days. No, so we just have like an update on the epoch period, which has been reduced from 1 day to 1 hour, so it's exactly 12 hours. I think it's already answered by someone else. That's good. And also D-Rod asks, what is the first D app? So that's a secret. I think a marketing team asked me to keep it as a secret, so I won't be able to talk about it here, but it should be like something good. Okay, so just let us know if you have more questions. Feel free to type on this Zoom group chat, or you can just talk if you want.
Yes, I just want to add one more comments here. So please apply the hotfix to today, and the the hotfix will change the row algorithm from the if I remember correctly, it's a 151st epoch. So if you don't do this upgrade from the 151 epoch, which is somewhere tomorrow, you are not going to accept a new block because your algorithm doesn't match other people's. So please do that as soon as possible today. Thank you.
So I think without no more questions, I'm going to handing over this to Kevin.
Okay. Yeah, let's do something really interesting, file drill today. This is Kevin from IoTeX. Last week, we briefly talked about how we are going to do the file drill. There are 3 parts, and let's do the first part, which is also very interesting. And we probably do not even have this after our mainnet launch. This might be the only opportunity we can do this. Let's imagine there is a 0-day vulnerability in our blockchain. Right now, we need to stop the blockchain immediately. This is super urgent. Right now, I really need all the delegates who are online now to stop your container, stop your chain, your node right now. I can also demonstrate how to do it, but you should be able to do it directly from your server. If you go to your server and you should be able to see Docker PS. You can find your container ID and do Docker stop it. Once you do that, when you go back to the PS, you should see empty. I would pause a little bit here, let all the delegates to stop their containers, and let's monitor whether our chain will be stopped or not. And here we have the Grafana and shows the blockchain height. And let's wait for maybe 5 minutes, allow everybody to stop it, and whether we can see the curve has been changed. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the Zoom chat or Discord. Another way we can see it is from the IoTeX scan, which is a very nice build IoTeX block explorer, and see whether the height has been stopped at this height. All right, I think the block has been hung to this height. Okay, there are now more and more people joined the emergency and stop their blockchain. Yeah, this is pretty good, and it only spent less than 5 minutes to get everybody stop the blockchain. Let's deploy the hotfix. Yeah, I think during this imagined situation, there are very emergency. We need to do the hotfix, and right now we already pre-implemented the hotfix, which is RC8 hotfix 2. Right now we already have the Docker image ready. Everybody now please upgrade your node to this Docker image. Please do it now. Let's see what we can, after everybody deploys the hotfix, what we can see. The chain should resume and the height should start to increase.
For the people online, so please use the Docker image IoTeX/IoTeX dash call colon v 0.5.0 dash RC8 dash hotfix 2. This is you need basically just this one added the dash hotfix 2. This is the image you want to use next.
So for this fix, it is a comparable fix. So you do not have to clean your database, which when the chain be online, you wouldn't need to clean up the database for all the compatible fix. But this hotfix, as Zhijie mentioned earlier, will create a hard fork during epoch 151. That means if you do not upgrade, you would be on either. If you do not upgrade, you are not going to catch up with other chain, and you are not going to reach the consensus with other nodes who upgraded. Yeah, right now the height has been still hung at the same height and even dropped a little bit. That is also because certain people stopped earlier, and we need to see whether after people restarted and the chain can be recovered or not. Okay, very good to see. People are getting back. Okay, it seems many people have restarted. Can we, Zhijie and Yutong, can you also check whether the chain has been restarted? From the chart, it hasn't shown yet. So this chart, we have a number between 0 to 1, which should be binary. 0 means completely done, and 1 means completely ready. And but the chart update every I don't know, like 30 seconds, and we do the calculation between the about the last 2 minutes. What's the number there? So if it is starting from 1 to 0, it becomes maybe it's 2, I guess.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So I changed it a little bit. It used to be from so 0 means like we use the matrix from Kubernetes. So 0 means it's not ready. 1 means it's ready. But I did some changes recently to change it to like 3 status. The 0 now means you are now participate. So that will show the no value. So if you are now participate in the chain operation now, so like I'll turn off the matrix, that shows like no value. So it won't show you down like if you are not participated. So 1 now means you are done. You are now like your service. We cannot ping your service. We think you are participating in the operation, but you are now like response to the host endpoint check. So 2 means you are ready. As Kevin just said, like it's a moving average on the value. We put it into a 2 minutes average. So I only translate the value to text for 0, 1, 2. So that means if you are in between, you will just show the number. You will just show a number like really quickly. Like once you reach to either 0, 1, 2, you will just show the text.
Yeah, again here the blockchain height is also a moving window. That's why you also see the decimals as well. Okay, let's give a little bit more time for the chain to recover.
I think it's recovered. I think it's recovered now.
Oh, okay.
The highest one I see right now is getting to the 6.9. It's already getting to the 70. Yeah.
Okay, it's catching up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's back up online. Thanks for all your efforts. Right now it's back up online. You can keep seeing it's increasing, and also from the block height chart, we can see the very nice curve. It's just back up online. And if we go back to the last half an hour, it has been like this, stopped and then back up online.
Yeah, I think if next time we want to make it faster, or like you can try to download the image before, like ahead, before you stop your server. So download the latest image and then stop your server and switch to the latest image. That will like make the restart, I think, a little bit faster, maybe.
Okay, yeah. The assumption we have the Docker image before that, but in the real fire, we also need to work on the fix as well. Cool. Yeah, thanks for all the efforts from the delegates. You are doing super great. This is all as expected. That means whenever we have the emergency, we have practices, we can actually execute it very well. So the next one, last time we also use it as a homework, is a DDoS delegate, and we also made a post here. That is a more detailed write-up about how people can possibly bring down a delegate node server, and using different methods that we already know. Let's see whether people can actually do that. We have seen many attempts so far, but they haven't been successful yet. And we are going to reward 50,000 IoTeX for the first 3 who successfully bring down a delegated server. And bring down one server shouldn't affect the chain. The chain should still stay very healthy. But if multiple servers being brought down, we will see the fire just like what we did just now. If there are more than 8 servers being brought down, the chain should harm. Cool. That concludes what I have today for the fire drill. I think most people has been upgraded to the RC8 hotfix tool. Let's keep it running, and tomorrow in 24 hours, I guess, in epoch 151, they're going to be hard fork. Let's see what happens there. All right.
Yeah, great job with the fire drill. As Kevin mentioned, tomorrow in Epic 151, the hard fork will kick in. So let us know your experience with that. Now we're going to jump over to some delegate presentations. I know it's late in some regions, but these delegates have worked hard on their presentations, and there's definitely stuff to learn in every session. So we're going to start with InfinityStones. They've created a great open source rewards calculation tool for delegates. So I'm going to hand over access to InfinityStones so they can share. If you want to follow along, you can check out the payout tool in this link, github.com/infinitystones/IoTeX_payout.
All right, thank you, Larry. Thanks for having us. So hello, everyone. Greetings from InfinityStones. In today's presentation, we would like to introduce to you an IoTeX reward calculation tool we have developed for IoTeX Mainnet. And we hope our tool could help you to simplify your reward distribution process. Now, as Larry showed before in this page, we have provided an installation instruction on our GitHub page. And I would like to mention that the prerequisites to install our tool is that you have to have Golang version 1.11.5 or later installed, and the Go dependency management tool version 0.5.0 or later installed. And after that, just follow the few lines of code we have provided here to install our tool, and the installation process should take approximately 2 to 3 minutes to finish. Now, let's take a look at how to use our tool and what our tool can provide. Okay. So after you have installed our tool, just type /IoTeX_payout-h for our help docs. Now, to use our tool for your delegate, first you should specify your delegate's name here. This is the name your voters used when voting for you on the blockchain. And the second necessary parameter is the alias you have set for your delegate's operator address. Please note this is the operator address, not the reward address or beneficiary address. And alternatively, if you haven't set an alias for your address, then you can just input your address here. And optionally, you could specify your commission rate separately for your block reward. Use these flags, your block reward, your epoch bonus reward, and your foundation bonus reward. Now, by default, those 3 flags will take a value of 10, which means your commission rate for those 3 part of rewards is 10%. Now, and of course, you can use any numbers from any integer numbers from 0 to 100 to specify your commission rate. And the next optional flag is the epoch number, which means for which epoch you would like to run our payout tool on. And our payout tool will grab the data from that specific epoch and calculate the reward distribution. And by default, if you don't pass any value to these flags, then our tool will just run for the latest epoch. And finally, the -O flag, that means the output string. You can opt to save the outputted JSON file by our reward tool to save on the location you specify. Now, let's use InfinityStones delegates as an example to run our tool. Okay, as you can see here, I have specified that I want to run for InfStones. That's our delegate's name. And the InfStones operator is the alias we have set for our operator address. And optionally, I have specified that I want to run a tool on epoch 31. And I have left everything else by default, which means the commission rate is 10%. Now, this bin here is just to print the JSON output by our program. If you have specified an output string to save the JSON file, then you can skip this part, the print part. Okay, as we can see, we have a result here. We can confirm that the result is for epoch 31. And the productivity of 15 means that InfinityStones produced 15 blocks in epoch 31. And the total votes is 8,994,269. The next part is the reward we have calculated for this epoch. So 15 blocks, 16 IoTeX token per block, that's 240 IoTeX for this epoch. And please note, this is when we developed this this tool, we were expecting a 1-day epoch time on Mainnet, but as Larry and Roland mentioned before, we will keep a 1-hour epoch time when Mainnet launches. So expecting this number to be 80 for the phase 1. And here the epoch bonus reward should be roughly 130 for here, you can see here. Now the next part is the details for your voters and how much they have voted for you and how much you should share to each voter. Now let's use this voter as an example. You can see here the share number 206. That means 20.6% of your votes came from this voter. And you should share 44 block reward to this voter and 355 foundation bonus reward to this voter in epoch 31. And again, this is the 1-day foundation bonus we will calculate it, and we will update our program later to accommodate the 1-hour epoch time. And yeah, I think that's everything our program would output. And later we will update the program to accommodate the 1-hour epoch time. And I think that this would conclude my presentation. Hope it's been helpful. And as the network updates and evolves, we will keep updating our tool and add more features. And we will upload an updated tutorial video later and put the link on our GitHub page as well as our contact information. So please consider subscribe to our social media accounts for updates. So thank you for tuning in, and please feel free to contact us if you have any questions. And now I'll hand back over to Larry.
Thanks so much for that great presentation. Yeah, so that's InfinityStones payout tool. Definitely check it out on their GitHub. Our next presentation is going to be from IoTeX Geeks. So they built a great Telegram wallet and also have implemented our Kubernetes recommendations. So Bobby is going to walk us through that. Let me share. Let me make you the host, Bobby.
All right. Okay. So as Larry mentioned, this is IoTeX Geeks. Basically, we're a delegate running. As a delegate, we've obviously set out to make a wallet specifically for IoTeX. We're hoping to make a more desktop wallet coming forward, but just to show what we've been able to do, we've actually made a Telegram wallet that we've launched already on Telegram, and you can basically send and tip each other and do anything like that. Yeah, so that's basically where we are, and we're hoping to get more support so that we can create this desktop wallet. And over time, the desktop wallet will have more and more features. We'll try and integrate voting. We'll try and obviously have balances. And as things grow in the IoTeX network, we'll add more features in there. We're also aiming to add features for hardware wallets, like Nano Ledger and everything. And again, when we say hardware wallets, it's specific to the IoTeX new network that we'll be launching and IoTeX native token. Okay, but anyway, so going in, I'm going to just today explain about Kubernetes. So as you've heard from the IoTeX team, they're saying that Kubernetes is a recommended way that they would like everyone to deploy it. So I've not used Kubernetes before until now, so I've decided, let's have a look at this Kubernetes, and then Larry saw me using it, and he thought, it would be good for me just to share how I went about it. Before I go into Kubernetes, I'd just like to obviously explain, we know that IoTeX is using Dockers. If we look at most of the DPoS technology out there, or delegate proof of stake cryptocurrency chains there's not actually a lot of them using Dockers. Most of them that you can think of, whether it be Lisk, Arc, or Tron, natively they run with their own nodes that you would download, run, and not many of them are running Dockers. So IoTeX is kind of one of the few that I've seen that actually use Dockers. And then once you've obviously got the Dockers, it makes it a little bit easier for you to deploy in Kubernetes. Kubernetes is a form of container orchestration, which allows you to deploy containers, and then Kubernetes is usually a cluster of machines that you can deploy on. There's a lot of information about it. It's known also as K8s for short, but you can find quite a bit of information on it. So I'm going to show you how I went and deployed it. So I basically used Google Cloud Platform, and your end goal is basically to create a Kubernetes cluster. So you can see on the top picture a cluster that I've created. The cluster size is 3 nodes, and you can see the location I've used and total cores and total memory. So you can keep quite small, use it, and then at the bottom, once you've spun up your Kubernetes cluster, you can see at the bottom that it makes use of normal compute engines in the Google Cloud Platform. So I'm just going to give you some steps on how I did this. So from a Kubernetes perspective, inside Google Cloud Platform, you've got this little command line option that you can click on the top right there. Now, what is great about that is if you use it, you've got like a little native Linux machine, if you want to call it that you can use without having to spin up an extra machine and incur more costs. This one, you don't incur costs. And before you start, this is when you start, when you come into the Kubernetes engine in the Google Cloud Platform, under clusters, you'll see that I've got nothing here, I've got nothing created, and I'm going to go into that command console, and it's called Cloud Shell from Google. And once you go into the Cloud Shell, you can see that, it's automatically, I've kind of highlighted some lines just for you to follow along. So the first one, it says, there's, I've got a cloud platform project in the session, Amazing Sunset 23296. So that's just a default project. You could have actually created a project in Google Cloud and used that. But then if we go to the next line, so basically what I'm doing is before I even start, I'm setting the compute zone that I want to use. So that's just to ensure that I'm using the lowest fees that I can. So obviously same as Google Cloud and AWS, they have specific compute zones or regions where you can add your nodes, and then the costs for your CPU, RAM, and disks vary depending on that. So I've just updated to that. Then the next step, I've basically said, let's create the cluster. So it's a one-line command, gcloud container clusters, create IoTeX K8s test cluster. I've also put the commands right here on the top right. You can see I'm saying there's a set compute zone. What is in italics is what you'd use as a command. And then again, create the K8s cluster. Then once you've created that, you'll see that the response at the bottom, it comes back with the cluster, it gives you your location, gives you your master IP, machine type, node version. And then obviously the state is running, and again, how many nodes. Now this is again from command line, but you could have gone back into the Google Cloud Console and you would have been able to see that it's been created over there. Then the next step, what I've done here is, if you look on the top left here, I'm just showing you that I have no Docker images. So I ran the command Docker images, which will show you the images. Then the next line, I've basically pulled the Docker image, RC8. Obviously now we've got hotfix 2. And then the next command, I've then said, Docker images, just to show that I've pulled that. Then what I've done is I've changed the tag. The reason I've changed the tag is to make it more compliant with Google Cloud, because in the next command, what we're going to do is we're going to push it back to the Google Cloud, because the Google Cloud actually has a repository where you can keep all these images. So I've decided to use that repository and push it back. So I've just added a tag and then I've pushed it back in the next command. And then when I've pushed it back, you can see there it's gone into that repository. So that repository, if we go to Google Container Registry, again via the command console, you can see there, on the top left, that's your container registry, and then you can see I've got a folder IoTeX core. Then when you go into IoTeX core, you'll see on the bottom right, I've actually got 2 images there, RC8 and RC7. So I just do this so that I don't have any images local on that little machine, because obviously you don't have a lot of space and I don't want to incur extra machine. So it's just to give you an idea of that container registry that you have. Then the next part is you obviously need to get the IoTeX config. So I've just cloned the IoTeX testnet, brought it down, and then you start doing the normal things that you would do for your IoTeX node by editing your config in your Genesis file. So here I'm just renaming it, and then I've done the nano command. That's just the same as VI editor. And then a little bit further down, I've then created a config map. So you need to create a config map. Give it a name. So here I've called it IoTeX testnet config, and then I've showed the 2 files, the config and the Genesis. Obviously the config, you must already have put in any changes you want in there, like your private key for your node. Yeah, and then that's it. Then the next part is you obviously need a config file for the IoTeX Kubernetes. So now the config file, I didn't create this config file. It is basically on this GitHub repo. I'm not sure who actually made this, if this is someone from the community or from IoTeX themselves, but it's a great start. It gets you up and running. From a Kubernetes perspective, what you'll probably spend more time is trying to get this file right. So it's a big help that's already I recommend, use it. And then especially as a starting point, and then you can edit it as you require. So from that perspective, in here, I'm just showing that I'm getting that file, and then I'm basically doing a nano and editing it. When you edit it, you need to add, your config map. You need to add the name of the image in there. And then also something that you have to do is you have to create an IP to be used in there. So you can see a little bit down on the bottom of the slide, I've said, here's 2 commands. One is to create the IP, and then one is to get the IP created. In my screenshot, I already had the IP created, so I just said, show me the IP, and then you can see it returned the IP. This is an example of that Kubernetes config file. You would inside there need to update the load balancer IP. Then you can see a little bit further down on the image, I've updated the image to point from the image that I'm keeping in my Google container repository. And then on the right, I've just obviously then mapped it to my config map, which is IoTeX testnet config. And then from there, it's pretty straightforward. You then, issue the create command, which will create the services and the pods. And then once I've created that, you can see then I've issued the get command just to see the services. Now in the first screenshot, you can see when I do the get, the external IP is still pending. So it'll take a few seconds, and then you'll see the external IP gets assigned. It will be the IP that you've given it. And then the second screenshot, you can see there I've said get the pods. And then what's most important was that name that it returns there, the IoTeX-0. Because if you want to interact with that pod, you just need that name. So once that's up and running, you actually already then have a Kubernetes fully running cluster with a pod and a service. And from there, you can actually start viewing the logs within that pod. So you can see here on the bottom left, the commands. One is just to say logs IoTeX IO, then 0. That's you saying, show me the logs from that pod. Or you could say the tail command. You have to write the tail command slightly different, but that's how you would show the tail command, and it'll show you from the end. But that's basically how you would then see the logs. And when you see the logs, you'll basically see what we're used to now from running an IoTeX node. And you can see in the logs, it's basically everything that you've seen usually and how it would show on the node. Then another thing that you can do is you can actually interact with the pod. So in here, I've used the command where I've actually gone into the pod and then I've then just executed the ioctl command, just to give you an idea that once you're in there, you can then start doing a few things. So just to give you an idea how we can create the Kubernetes cluster and keep it running and then still be able to interact with it. Obviously, the Kubernetes cluster, you basically create containers, and then obviously you say how big this cluster is. So it does give a form of resilience because you've got extra machines available, extra capacity, and this is how you can then get some resilience for your node. And then again, this is the end goal, and here's the end result. If you did all those commands, as I've showed you, you should be able to then have a cluster like you see on the top first left picture, and then from there you'll see the workloads is set to IoTeX, and then from there you'll see the services, which is your IoTeX service with 3 nodes and the load balancer coming through. And that is it from me.
Appreciate you sharing your Kubernetes experience with us, and definitely check out IoTeX Geeks Telegram group where they have the Telegram wallet built in. It's really cool. You can tip people, airdrop people. So definitely check it out. And looking forward to the desktop wallet. The next person we have will be Cobo. Yeah.
Okay. So hello everyone. I'm Jenny from Cobo. We recently integrate the IoTeX voting dApp in Cobo, so you can vote for IoTeX delegates on your Android and iOS devices without installing MetaTask. So before I demo how to use the app, I'd like to take a few minutes to make a brief introduction about Cobo. So Cobo is the first leading wallet company in the world to offer proof of stake and masternode rewards on user holdings, make it easy for users to effortlessly grow their digital assets. As a company, we emphasize long-term security, reliability, and convenience. Our key products and services reflect that vision. Altogether, we offer a secure mobile wallet, that's Cobo Wallet, and high-end cold storage wallet for advanced users is called Cobo Vault, and the custodial service for institutions and investors is Cobo Custody. And right now, for our Cobo Wallet, we have more than 1 million global users, and we support more than 30 coins and 500 tokens. We recently added full support for Lightning Network implementations, and now we support dApps that are running on Ethereum, Tron, and IOST, and in the future we will support IoTeX as well. So if you open your mobile phone, you can search Cobo Wallet on Google Play or App Store. Then you'll find our app in the purple logo. Yeah, and then after you download it, please remember to register a Cloud Wallet or HD Wallet. And you can find a difference on our support page. So I'm gonna skip this part. So when you open Cobo, after you register account, and please make sure that you have enough IoTeX tokens in your HD wallet, and then go to the Explore tab. You will find the voting tab on the banner spot. Also, it's the #1 app that it's the #1 tab that we featured in the Explore tab. And after you open the tab, you can click the vote now to start voting, or scroll down to choose the delegate that you want to vote for. And after you click the vote now and choose your delegate, for example, let's take Cobo for example, and choose how much IoTeX you want to stake and how long you want to stake it. And after that, you keep scrolling down, and you will see a button. It's called proceed to a vote to confirming then you need to confirm your voting details, like the amount and the period, and like how, like do you want to auto stake as something like that, and your delegate name. And then at last, just click yes, make transaction. Then your staking will complete automatically. And that's very simple. And that's it. And hope everyone can enjoy Cobo and ask your community to vote for yourself and vote for Cobo. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. That was great. Yeah, so this is already built into the IoTeX website, so people can start voting from their mobile with Cobo. So our last presentation will be from iotxplorer, Jason. So Jason has built quite a few things already, working on an Explorer. This is kind of a snapshot of his voting dashboard, but he's also working on an Explorer, and you can check that out at iotxplorer.io. But today, he's going to share some of his Explorer as well as his rewards tool. So I'm going to hand it off to Jason.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to talk about mostly my distribution tool. Just some background on it. I made it mostly to use in-house for my specific rewards distribution purposes. So my idea was to reward my voters once a day, and just come in and have a program that I can just run once, and it distributes all of the previous days rewards based on the votes that I had that epoch. And so it relies heavily on the dumper tool that the team provided and the stats CSV that came from that. So if I show an example of the CSV that's produced, so this is produced by the dumper, and it has everybody's voting details. So it has, these are voter addresses, these are IoTeX addresses, and the delegate. So my tool kind of loops through that and gets the appropriate rewards based on my distribution amounts, which is 87% of the epoch bonus. And essentially, I'll just run the program now. So we see up here, we have the epoch number for the epoch that it's going to reward for, which is the previous epoch. I guess now we're in 117. And then it uses the gRPC endpoints and IOCTL internally to get these end values, which are the epoch bonus and the foundation bonus. And then this foundation, this epoch bonus here is what it distributes and calculates the amounts based off, along with the stats CSV file. So now if I just enter my password, it should just automatically start rewarding all of my voters from that stats file. And I think I have 40 voters, so this will take a bit. It has to go through the whole flow of writing out the transfer request and accepting it and getting the hash back. If I just take one of these, I can search for it in my database. So I'll show later that when it's finished distributing, we can get an output from it and see, our voters can check in this dashboard what date they received the rewards, how many rewards they received, and that kind of information. I'll just stop it. Well, I'll let it run because there's a few more things afterwards. I hooked this up to a MongoDB database in the cloud. So as soon as the script finishes running, first of all, it sends out a tweet to this Twitter account. And then it imports that stat CSV as a document. So we can see here, we've imported the database, 40 voters, and a tweet was sent out. Let's see if it's there now. Yep, 21 seconds ago. I just thought it'd be a good idea for transparency. Every time it runs, we can see automatically how many we've distributed, how many we're sharing, and anyone can backtest that from the first epoch to whatever the epoch may be. They can find out. Sorry. They can find out exactly what's happened. And now if I just check one of these hashes, as you can see, it was successful, status 1 to this address, from this address to this address. If I search it, we can see a minute ago we had this distributed here. So their share was 0.48% of our total votes, and this was the reward they got from that for that epoch. And that's just generally how the program works. That's pretty much all of it. So yeah, as I said, this was based on a 1-day epoch, and so it just calculates rewards based on that small number, which is around 200. So I have to adjust this program to kind of, if I still want to award 1 per day, that will be times 24. I guess I'd loop this somehow to find out the total epoch bonus and get the state of all of my voters for the last few epochs and just do it that way. But yeah, that's just an idea of the kind of thing you can do if you were to write your own script. I will open source this once it's had some testing on Mainnet. So after at least a week, I'll open source it, and anyone can make any edits they want. Maybe we could tie it into the new bookkeeping tool that Rowland presented earlier. And yeah, we can just kind of improve upon it and make it a bit more accessible to everyone else, kind of add some flags to change which delegate it distributes for, and to change the distribution amount similar to the one we saw earlier. And yeah, that's the end of my presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. Really great stuff. Looking forward to seeing this in action with the real rewards in Mainnet. I'm going to present one final thing. So that concludes our presentation for today. So just to recap some important things, we talked about the new rewards commands in IOCTL and the process with the different rewards flows. We updated the epoch to 1 hour. We talked about some final logistics for Mainnet, and we talked about the fire drill instructions. So looks like everyone is up and running on hotfix 2. If you're not, please install it, and we should see the changes implemented in epoch 151. So the last thing, just to recap on this Mainnet launch, as Rowland mentioned, we will announce the final Mainnet date shortly. So 72 hours before, we'll send some detailed instructions and open the countdown. So we're getting close. Hope everyone's as excited as we are. I think this rehearsal went great, so let's keep the final push going. And Rowland, did you want to say any final words?
Yeah, sure. So I think like we're doing extremely great today. So with your important contents, we have successfully completed the file drill session. We have the chain recovered without any pain, right? I think most importantly, we have this very high quality like guest presentations. And I'm so glad actually to see this, this kind of help each other attitude, also this community atmosphere within this Telegram, this Discord group, Delegate group. So which is really what we need to expand the project further along, right? So at last, I think like we appreciate your help, and we do looking forward to see even more contributions from you guys. And we will be notifying you about the final dates and the final steps to start the mainnet. I guess that's it. Thanks everyone, and great jobs everyone.